Good morning, and welcome to Middle Earth Readings. My name is Maggie Rose Cunningham. I'm delighted to be with you here this morning. It is the Monday following the summer solstice here in the northern hemisphere, the winter solstice in the southern hemisphere, and I'm here today to help you to settle into and open to the possibilities of your week ahead. So welcome to those of you who are able to join me live, and welcome to those of you who are watching the replay. If you are watching the replay, please do put hashtag replay. Let me know that you are joining, and I do try and look at all of the comments afterwards when people come and post afterwards. I don't do readings at that point. I do come if you've got any questions in the comments. So I can see a couple of you arriving already. Welcome to today's session. So we are in our waxing moon week. We're looking at opening to the energies of the week, and also at surrendering our intentions. So through the course of the new moon, we set those intentions. What is it that we are envisaging for our month ahead? What is it that we want to bring in through the course of the month ahead? And when we start to move into the waxing moon and the energy is building, there is a sense of which, we've set the course, we've set the direction, and we need to put ourselves in the hands of the universe. And so the question comes about, what is it that I might need to let go of? If opportunities come up, what is it that I might need to let go of in order to take those opportunities? I asked for this thing, and the universe has responded, maybe in unexpected ways. What do I need to do in order to step into that? And good morning, Esther. Esther is doing some wonderful role modelling of sharing your rune of the lunar month as well. So we're going to go through, as part of our oracle piece, our feeling into possibility, 5 of the runes. Your rune is Uru's, Esther, which is not one of our 5 power runes. So for you, as you are here nice and early and you're sharing your rune, there is a sense, I just talked about surrender. Now, some of the runes are more surrendery than others, let's say. So Perthrow, for example, it looks like a little bit of a vessel, sort of open vessel. And that's very, that is the rune of surrendering to the universe. Now, Uru's also looks like a vessel. If you turn it on its side, I don't have it to hand, but if you imagine, it sort of looks like that shape, like a U upside down. When you turn it that way, it becomes a vessel, and it becomes like the drinking vessel, the drinking horn that we raise to create our intentions, to make our boasts, to offer our gratitudes to the world. And the Uru's rune can represent that moment where, when we are solid in what it is that we need to achieve and do in the world, yes, we might go round, but we don't let go. So then it might be that for you, Esther, there's a sense of using discernment. I'm very much feeling into this energy of discernment at the moment, of using discernment to tell the difference between things where it is a yes, I'm going to be surrendering to that, and where it is I'm going to need some tenacity or a workaround or some way of working with the materials that I have been handed, even though they're not exactly what I expected. So you want to be holding on to that tenacity and using your Uru's instincts. Uru's is a very embodied rune, so really feeling into those gut instincts. If the gut instinct is, okay, I know I need to do this, but I might need to do it in a different way. That's a very Uru's-y energy, rather than just going, no, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So there is a little bit of discernment within this in terms of thinking about surrender. Morning to you, Candice. So you have got Algis reversed today. Let's have a little feel into that. I'm not feeling that at the moment, Candice, but I'm just going to write it down in case, if I have my pen, here we go, in case it comes back at a later point in the session. And good morning to you, Michelle. It's always lovely when people say hello. Please do say hello if you're here live. It's nice to give me a wave and share your rune. So it could be a rune that you have drawn for the day, to empower you, to guide you, to act as a spirit guide. It could be through the course of the week, or for a specific challenge or problem, or it could be through the lunar month as we work with Suna Starwheel, for those of you who are working with Suna Starwheel. So on that front, I would love to know, I mentioned the solstice, so question, did you celebrate the solstice? No, and there's no judgment, yes or no, around this. No, I'm aware that, if you follow, like, let's say the pagan wheel of the year, we have sort of 8 major festivals that have concretized that we tend to follow around the wheel of the year. But there are others as well, and it can become quite a bit exhausting celebrating all of them. So did you celebrate the summer solstice? And if you did, how did you do that? Love to hear from that. Some of you will know in the article that I put out last week, I had plans for a lovely summer solstice ritual. I did a summer solstice ritual on the retreat that I did, like a grown-up ritual on a retreat that I was on actually at the summer solstice. And but what I've noticed is that my youngest son is asking pretty much daily, when is Christmas and when is Halloween? He's asking these questions all of the time. And so I've started saying to him, right, well, we do have those festivals coming up and we celebrate them. So we do celebrate Christmas because it's an ancestral festival in my family. I've celebrated Christmas. I was brought up as a Christian, so we do celebrate Christmas. I celebrate Yule as well, and I do some sort of lighting of candles and gentle magical work with the children there. But maybe because I don't make such a big deal out of it, we just do some actions. I say, oh, let's come and do the fire. He doesn't see it as being celebrations. So I'm trying to work with him and saying, actually, yes, the solstice is coming. What should we do? And involve him in the planning of the rituals that we're doing at the moment. So sometimes you can have a child-friendly version and maybe something that's a little bit deeper as well. And Michelle, you're saying our family tradition is strawberry picking. We did that too, Michelle. Yes. I was thinking about that and thinking, because we've been working with Freya, and I know that modern practitioners have associated Freya with strawberries. I've never found it actually in the sources, but she seems to like them, doesn't she? So it's very Freya. We're in her hall. No, I tell a lie. We've come out of her hall, but we're working with her at the moment. And yes, such a solstice-y thing to do. So yeah, picking strawberries we did toasting marshmallows over the fire. Esther says I ended up doing 3 celebrations, one with your Blackpool moot, one with my coven, and one solitary as well. Oh, that's beautiful. And this is the thing, isn't it? It's maybe one of the things that have come into our society now is this sense of the build-up. If you think about Christmas and Easter, like the build-up and the stuff that's in the shops, and it's never ending, and then all of this pressure is put on this one day, and then it's over. And with the pagan wheel of the year, one of the things that I like is that although we do have dates for the solstices and for the equinoxes, we can work out when they are. For the other 4, there is a sort of energy around them, like Imbolc, for example, where you would say, okay, well, is Imbolc actually about when the snowdrops are seen? There's a building of the energy, just like the lunar cycle. It builds and it peaks and then it comes back out again, and so we can carry on with that. So thank you for sharing with me how you celebrated. And for those of you who have Sooner Star Wheel, you're subscribed to Sooner Star Wheel this month, it'd be lovely to know if you have already done it, what you thought about the summer solstice meditation that was part of your Sooner Star Wheel package this month. I really enjoyed creating it for you. It was really, really lovely to create that as well. So yes, lovely celebrations going on. So happy solstice to you all. So let's take a pause. Let's take a little bit of a moment. We've done a reading for Esther already. I can sort of have the algas reversed for Candy. So let's just take a little bit of a pause for a moment. A little bit of breath. It's a Monday morning. It's quite late on a Monday morning. Depends what time. What time do you rise? I've been greeting the sun a little bit more mindfully in the run-up to the solstice. I find it a little bit tough at this time of year because I'm going to be honest, I don't always want to get up when the sun gets up. And it is lovely to open your curtains and actually sort of open your eyes fully and let the sunlight come in. And I know that does stuff to us chemically. I can't remember what the exact expression is, but in terms of being awake, working with the sun and saying farewell to the sun when it sets as well, an incredibly powerful way to work. And when I was on my retreat, this week, I was doing that, and I went outside because we had a lovely, straight looking out over a lake, and it was beautiful, and I was the first one up, and I was there, and I had my cup of tea, and I was just really breathing in, and then I just paused and listened. And one of the things I love is birdsong in the morning. One of the things I miss so much about having moved out of my old house and being in this house at the moment is there were trees all around my old house, and I could just hear the birds. And I thought, why is it that the birds, they just sing the day awake, don't they? They sing the day awake. They say, hello, sun, hello, day. This it's this instinctive singing of the day awake. I said, why don't we sing the day awake? Is it that we're just all like, oh, it's another day, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, and we get into the momentum of all of the tasks that we didn't do the day before or that we have planned for the week, and it's like go, go, and forgetting maybe that pause. So how do you sing the day awake? And thinking about this, and we think about greeting the day, energetically connecting with the day, I'm reminded that we can get stuck in, let's say, like energy hangovers or meaning hangovers from the previous day, or from, I get up in the morning and this is the routine that I have, and maybe it's not serving my needs as well as it could. They talk about like getting out of bed on the wrong side. So what can we do to get out of bed on the right side and to leave behind those things that might be energy hangovers from the previous day, or things that have risen up in our systems, that have been activated, let's say, through the course of perhaps the previous day or the previous week or months or years, that need to be cleared so that we can be in that space where we can sing the day awake. So this is what I want to experience through the course of this day. This is the energy that I would like to gift to this day and that I would like to receive from this day. So when we're going to look at our 5 power runes, let's say, the deep dive runes that we're going to work on, I'm going to be focusing a little bit on how can we work with them energetically, because obviously the runes are sounds, and a beautiful way to sing the day awake is to choose a rune, or choose the rune that you're working with and sing it to the day. But it might be that you need to do a bit of release work, and all of the runes offer the ability to work on stuff that is stuck within you, and to draw in, to sort of receive and is that what I'm using? Yeah, to receive and to release. All of them have that ability, but we can use them in quite different, quite specific ways. I'm glad that you like that, singing the day awake. I'm really enjoying that. I'm just like, yeah, that's what the birds do. Why don't we? So before we do that, let's look at our our bigger picture oracle for our week ahead. So again, if you have seen a Star Wars, you've got your template here that you may have filled in. I do my recorded piece and I take you through everything that's happening for the month. So you will know that this week, the theme is around confidence and communication. Confidence and communication. And thinking about that piece around like stuck energy, one of the most common reasons why we don't feel confident enough to bring our full selves to the table in any given moment and to communicate what we're really thinking, and sometimes we don't even know what we're really thinking, is the energy hangovers and the meaning hangovers that we have from the past. And this is important. It's that sort of recognition. Sometimes we can talk about ourselves as being, I'm not a confident person. And I always think to myself, I don't think that's necessarily true. It might be that there are learnings or experiences that we have had that make us cautious. So we could say, my cautiousness level is currently stronger than my confidence level. I've got a layer of cautiousness around me from previous experiences that I have had. Or it could be that we are energetically very sensitive to our environments, and that's why we don't want to put ourselves at risk in an environment where we don't feel safe. So it is not, this person over here is confident and therefore better than me, and I am less confident and therefore need to do work on myself and change myself. It can actually be, yes, maybe I need to do some release work, but it can also be the environment that I'm in is not the environment that is promoting my expression of what I'm really thinking, what I'm really feeling, what I want to communicate out into the world. So playing with this energy of discernment, of feeling into through the course of this week is important. It's to say, is it that I am not confident, or that I am unable to communicate what I want to say, or is it that I am not able to do that in this environment? And if so, maybe that's the first step. It's to say, what needs to happen to change the environment that I'm in, what needs to happen in order to bring more allies in, what is it that might need to happen so that I can find other spaces where I can communicate that vision and speak to others about it. So we've got this piece on confidence in communication. And through the course of this week, we have 3 planetary movements that are supporting this energy moving more fully, which is nice, because you might remember that last week we were looking at ideals and illusion, and it could be a little bit choppy. Oh, you know, I'm feeling into it, but is it right? Am I actually deluding myself? So there's a little bit more ability for us to have agency through the course of this week. So we have Tears chariot, so that's the equivalent of Mars. Tears chariot is moving into Ansus. So Ansus is it is the rune of, you know, communication, like the wind rushing. It's like opening. It's Odin's rune. This is partnership between Odin and Tyr. And what I'm reminded of here is that Tyr was said to be a sovereign deity. He was a king. And then at some point he gives that power, or it's taken from him, we don't know the story, to Odin. And what he offers to us through this Ansus rune is that sense of, what's my purpose in this moment? How can I be letting go more fully? How can I let go of constraints? Release things that are inhibiting my self-expression, that might be inside, but they might also be outside. It's a stepping into freedom, an unfettering, which he offers through the course of this week. This sense of which he doesn't, and we're going to talk about this a little bit with the Tewas rune, which is also one of the runes we're going to work with. Put it on the table here at this point. If he had a moment where he said, you know, I was a king, and now I am no longer a king. What does that mean about me? Does this mean that I am less than? Does it mean that I have passed my peak, that my life is over? I'm aware of things like the way that our society tends to do there. You go to school, then you go to work, then you retire. Those are our rites of, well, they're not even rites of passage, are they? Because we don't really do rites of passage around them, or if we do, they're quite small and tend to be focused on the giving of gifts, you know, rather than the transformation of the person inside. But Tyr says there is always an opening of new possibility. There is always an opening of new ideas, new inspirations, a new purpose for me to hold. And it might be that one door is closing, or one phase of my life is closing, but another is opening. And there will be a grieving. You know, I've been very, very present to that through the course of the last couple of weeks, is thinking about the way in which we understand grief in relation to the loss of another person, or maybe the loss of home or our money, to a certain extent. We don't tend to talk about grief in terms of the context of our careers or our vocations. No, we might have a little bit of that with, like, say, empty nest syndrome, for people who their vocation has been hearth making, homemaking, family. That sense of, well, now I've got empty nest syndrome, but it's still focused on the people, isn't it? It's almost like you're grieving for the people. Actually, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm grieving for the role that I had and the value that I contributed for all that time, and I am now stepping forward and releasing one identity and stepping into another. So the Ansus rune offers us that. And like I say, if you have that sense of maybe I am like shedding one skin and stepping into another, or maybe I have old grief around this, you can work by chanting the Ansus rune and working with the Ansus rune in order to do that release work, as well as to bring new inspiration in with the Ansus rune. So that's Tyr's chariot in Ansus. So Tyr is going to stay in Ansus from the 28th of June, the next couple of days, all the way through to the 23rd of July. So it's quite a long period of time that you can work with your Ansus rune. It's available too. So keep your eye out, those of you who might get Ansus later on through the course of this cycle. You can still work with Tyr on that. So then we have 2 movements, both of which are the Feiyu rune. So here's the Feiyu rune. Unlike the Ansus rune, it is reaching upwards. Ansus is pointing down, like the sort of wind rushing over the land and bringing its energy down towards the earth. The Feiyu rune is like the earth reaching up to the sun and drawing that abundant life force energy down into itself. And what the Feiyu rune is talking to us about through the course of this week, remembering we're talking about surrender, We've talked about surrender, and we've talked about barriers that might be in the way. This is about letting go of I'm going to try and I'm going to have to word this, so bear with me because it's going to be a challenging one to word. It's about letting go of power. And it does relate similarly, that the story that I just shared of Tia sort of stepping aside and saying, now this is Odin's time to be in the space of kingship. What Tia didn't say is, I am letting go of my power. You know, that's not what that rune represents. It can sound like it to us, because in our society it's like you have to be like at the top of your career, earning lots of money, with the fabulous house, doing the amazing thing, having people telling you how wonderful you are all of the time, you know, generating money to a large extent is the highest form of power, or generating controls over other people's lives, potentially, if you think about government and you know, like decision-making power. Our ability to not associate that power with ourselves and with our own self-identity is key. And with the Feiyu rune, through the course of this week, if you've received this rune, it might be about looking at areas of your own power. You know, if they're stifling you, for example, if you're like, I am continuing to operate in this way and to be trapped in this job, this home, this way of dressing. You know, it could be anything like that, where you suddenly feel like, well, you know, this suited me once. When did it stop serving me? When did it become my master and have power over me, rather than me expressing my power, my ability to, through it? So it could be that the Feiyu rune is asking you about that. But it could also be that it's inviting you to feel into when that is present, when that energy is present in the world around you, and to allow that to flow through you. You know, there is so much judgment that comes from people who are stuck in Feiyu energy that has become stagnant and is no longer moving. And the Feiyu energy, probably more than any other rune, must move. There are runes that naturally promote movement, like Ansu's, like Ewaz, but the Feiyu rune needs us to sort of unclog that flow at times. It's a little bit like the dragon. If you think about Lord of the Rings and you think about Smaug, this dragon here, you could say the dragons, when I work with Freya, undoubtedly represent this energy of abundant life force and magic. And yet when they become afraid, because that flow is no longer coming towards them and they can feel that lack, they draw their, you know, the wealth to them and they hoard it. They become the fierce, fiery, dangerous, destructive dragon energy. In the traditional rune poems, they talk about the wolf in the same way, the wolf who is so greedy, that's not being fed all of the time. So it's that feeding of our essential needs, rather than the things that we have been told make success, make us look good in the world. So it might be that there's some of the energy that is around you within your energy body, or it might be that it's outside of you and it's bringing awareness to that. And again, as I said, using your voice, chanting. Those of you who have done mastery with me, we've done work on the Feiyu rune, that's the mastery program after Awaken. We've done work before, and you can do healing work as well with the Feiyu rune. It's a very powerful rune to work with for healing work. I think I wanted to say that we did some in the Embodied Runes workshop as well. I think that we did. I've done a lot of work with Feiyu recently, but it's a great rune to work with if you've got that stuck energy. Okay, and we also have so the two planetary movements associated with Feiyu this week are Suna's chariot is moving into Feiyu, so the sun. So this is why the Feiyu energy is very, very strong at the moment, because we have Suna's chariot in Feiyu, which is brings forth that real purity of the Feiyu rune in its own right. The sun doesn't tend to have a sort of an agenda, like a filter that the rune resonates through. It brings that full force of the rune. So we have a lot of Feiyu energy available to us at the moment. If you're feeling any blocks to abundance and life force around you, you can work with that. And then Odin's chariot is also moving into Feiyu. So Suna's chariot moves on the 29th into Feiyu, and it will stay there until the 15th of July. It's also when the Feyou module opens for Awaken this year. Sorry, ignore that for those of you who are thinking, what? We are meeting tonight for the first time the new Awaken cohorts. I'm very excited. And their Feyou module is going to be opening very shortly. And then we have Odin's chariot is moving into Feyou on the 30th, and it will stay there until the 7th of July. So Odin is speeding up at the moment. He is charging forward. So he's working his way through the runes quite fast. So there's quite a lot of momentum energy, quite a lot of speed energy coming with the Feyou rune that you can work with and use to help with that flow, that real energy of flow. Right, so the other runes that we are going to be working with today, let's look at Teiwaz, because I can see, Michelle, you're saying that you've got Teiwaz. Chen, you've got Ansu, so great, we have covered Ansu, so you are sorted. So Teiwaz, Michelle, for you, and for anyone else who is working with Teiwaz as a spirit guide or a power rune at the moment. As I said, this does bring the energy of Tia, and this energy of letting go of, well, the way that he described it, he said it is a letting go of pride and an embracing of purpose. You know? And that can be quite difficult for us. If we have that sense of, I have worked really hard, I've done the time, I've been recognized for it, I am seen by others as being successful in this field, in this identity, in this way of being. We can get stuck. We can also get stuck if we have a little bit of the anti-energy to that we've said, you know, I've opted out, these things aren't important to me. No, look, what's the word I want to say? Yeah, the mainstream of society, no, I don't want that. There is still a limitation, Tara is saying, around that. There are choices that you made about what you were willing to receive into your life and what you weren't. And that's not to say that holding boundaries isn't incredibly powerful, because absolutely it is. But through the course of this week, it's about saying, okay, are those boundaries still relevant? Are they still empowering to you? Are they still enhancing? And most importantly, do they serve you in your purpose? If your pride is getting in the way of you expressing your purpose in the world, that's when you might want to do something about it. And so what part of me is holding on to this? And again, I'm going to just bring in the story of Tyr a little bit more fully. So obviously we've talked about him stepping aside so that Odin can take the throne, and him then taking on a new identity, so he becomes a warrior, an incredibly powerful warrior. But then he is called once more to take a decision, and his decision is to sacrifice his right arm. I say his right arm, it's his sword arm, to the Fenris wolf, so that the Fenris wolf can be bound, because Tyr's purpose, I don't speak for him entirely, but on my reading of his purpose, is that he is there to protect and to serve what is true and pure and good and honest and whole in the world. And if what it took for the world to continue to thrive in the way that he wanted it to was the sacrifice of his arm, even though it meant that he was going to have to give up his identity as a warrior, potentially, you know, difficult to, not impossible, just to be clear, my husband is paralysed down his right arm entirely, still absolute warrior spirit in action, but to the outside world it might have seemed as if he wasn't able to do as much, and so he was just like, that's pride, getting rid of that, you know. So we can do that work with the Teiwaz rune. We can look at releasing pride and allowing us to move forward, and to a certain extent as well we can look outside and we can say, okay, what's there that's blocking? The Teiwaz rune offers us momentum when things are in the way, so we can work on chanting with the Teiwaz rune that also looks to release us from constraints that might be created by other people, so that we can shoot forth with the lovely arrow of the Teiwaz rune is there as well. Okay. Our two final runes that we're going to be looking at today are the Vunyo rune, the rune of joy, the rune of belonging and fulfillment and happiness and ecstasy. And this is a really tricky rune. because it's when you step into that moment where you're like, I'm working towards it, I'm doing the release work, I'm more fully embodied, I'm expressing myself, I've found people who love me, yay, everything's good and brilliant in the world. There is something about human nature that makes us then go, oh, and what next then? I'm reminded of, have you seen The Matrix? I'm assuming that some of you have seen The Matrix. I sort of feel a bit old now, but they're doing like the Matrix films. They're doing, are they doing a new one? They're doing something at the moment, aren't they? Like a reboot or something like that, I think. But I've seen a lot of stuff about The Matrix at the moment. But in The Matrix, the robots make a version of the world, like an AI reality, virtual reality, let's say, for the human beings, which is perfect. They can all be happy. It is wonderful. They have everything that they possibly want. And what they found is that the humans rebelled because they were like, well, this can't possibly be correct. We need something to forge the swords of our souls against, to sharpen our blades, to discover who we are, a challenge, a trial, a hero's journey, to be whole. Sometimes you might go, I am sick of the hero's journey, really? But I think there's some truth in there. I do think there's some truth in there with the Matrix, this desire to evolve and grow. And so what Wunyo does is it says, at that moment, at that peaking moment where you're like, everything is sublime, that is the moment that the seed of the future is born inside, and what you are in the moment becomes what you were. And some of that is going to become the cocoon, the shell, for the next flowering of your soul. It's almost like you could think about it as I've grown into a full-grown tree, and now I am flowering once more, and I am becoming the fruits and the new seed, and I will regrow again. Now, this is what Wunyo offers. So when you're thinking about the energy for this week, you want to be thinking about it in terms of, when does that sense of wanting to belong, wanting to be happy, wanting to be fulfilled, move from being something that you're moving towards into something that you are like sheltering or hiding within, that is not allowing you to flower again. And Wunyo says, you might not be ready for the Hagalaz moment. The Hagalaz rune comes after the Wunyo rune. It's the next rune that comes and sort of destroys everything. But what could you open to? What would be possible for you to open to? And again, it offers us this feeling of discernment, where it's a very light rune. Doesn't mean it's not powerful, but it's a very light rune. We can feel the light in our bodies. We can almost feel it like sort of butterflies settling on the skin, and light moving through our body. And that real sense of lightness that allows us to feel, to sense the next way, when our energy bodies are fully clear, is Wunyo offers that, and it also helps us to find those places where we might not be clear. So working with that light energy, it can be a little bit heady. So when you're chanting your Wunyo rune energy, you can sort of feel yourself lifted into it and opening out the heart, opening up. And then you can say, okay, well, what happens if I move that down into my body and I allow myself to like move down into the earth just a little bit? What happens to the energy then? Where does it start to flutter in my body then? Really great rune for deep sensitivity to the moment is what it offers. And the final rune, our final deep dive rune for today, is the Yarrow rune, and I'm going to look and see if there's any other runes that people want me to have a little look at. Is the Yarrow rune. So the Wunyo rune, sometimes people say that it looks a little bit like a weather vane. Let me see if I can, have I lost it for you now? I probably lost it, haven't I? I can't find it. This one here, so yeah, it's been said it's a little bit like a weather vane, so it sort of moves and senses where you need to go and the weather, so it's got that lightness and that ability to adapt. The Yarrow rune is a much more patient, cyclical, it's just like it's a big energy, the wheel of the year turning, and us like moving around it, you know, and being moved by it. It is that sense of whatever is happening in the moment. Change is inevitable. You know, change is inevitable. And we might not be able to take all of the steps to move from something that feels uncomfortable into something that feels comfortable through the course of a week. You know, that might not be possible. So what Yera invites us into is to say, what actions can I take this week to move more fully towards the goal? What actions can I take to this week? You remember right at the beginning I was talking to Esther about the Uruz rune. The Yera rune is another rune that says, right now in this moment, I might not be exactly where I want to be, but there is a part of me, maybe that tear part of you, that knowing part of you, that says, but it will come. It will come. You know, we talk about the seed with the Wunya rune, sort of seed of the new opening up. The Yera rune is it's like a longer, bigger manifestation of that type of energy that says it might not be tomorrow, it might not be the next day, it might not be the next day, it might not be next year, it might be in the future. And yet if you hold it and you cherish it and you nurture it, it will come. If you bring your full self to it, it will come. You know? On the, I don't want to say shadow side, that's a little bit wrong. You know, I was talking about that all of the runes offer us the ability to release and to receive. What the Yera rune offers is, it says, finish what you started, to signal to the universe that you are to be trusted with the next big thing it wants to give you. Now imagine that, we'll talk about the Valkyrie. For those of you who don't know the Valkyrie, these sort of like winged women, often seen as like winged women, who are sent down, they're sent from Odin or maybe from the Nornir, to offer us, you know, this person, they might be the person who can hold this purpose or this idea, that they can care for it and bring it into being. And so they come and they offer you the thing. And the Valkyrie stays with you, sits with you, and witnesses you. And you might be thinking, well, I really, really, really want this thing into in my future. And the Valkyrie's going, well, that's all well and good, but at the moment you're holding that. Now, I'm not going to bring you something else until you finish what you started. There are two ways that you can finish what you started. One of them is to actually finish it, is to complete it. To say, what is it that I need to do in order to complete this outstanding task, this thing that I have been given? And the other one is to say, I'm not going to. And it's to stand there, and you might want to do a ritual around that, to say to the universe, I am done. I am not the holder of this, and this is why. This is why it does not play to my talent zone. Why it is not in my realm. You know, you might even say, well, you know, I made a mistake. I thought it was in my realm, but it is not. And so I am releasing it, and I am letting go of it, because you're making way for whatever is coming in the future. So the Yera rune invites that type of steady progress and a real like ownership of intention with it as well. So the real strength in the Yera rune. Okay, so let's have a look at what other people have got, the runes that you've got, because we have got a little bit of time. We've got about 5 minutes before we should be closing our space. I'm glad that you thought the watch was wonderful. Suzanne, I didn't know the time. That's all right, Suzanne. Normally you are bang on with the time, and normally earlier than me by a few minutes at least. You've got Kinaz, your moon rune for this month. That real creativity, that energy of creativity. There's a little bit. The only thing I would feel with the Kinaz rune, a little bit there, is just a slight sense of I want to say like almost like overwhelm, almost like the possibilities are so. There are so many possibilities with the Kinaz rune. And also that materials that we hold in order to express our creativity can hold energies in them, as well as just as much as we can. You know, so those of you who you might think about it and think, oh yes, you know, I had that knitting project that's been in the in that box for years. what energies have attached themselves to them, what intentions were put in there in the first place, and are they still relevant to you, or do you need to do some work in order to release them, because otherwise you're never going to finish that piece, that creative piece. And then again, it's maybe like drawing that slightly Yera energy. If you think about the Yera rune as being 2 key-ness runes, it's almost saying like some creative projects have a life cycle. And it might be that we can reignite the flame, but it needs to be a new flame. You know, it's like if we finish something, but we didn't finish it, we just stopped. No, the flame has died. So there's that question of what do I need to do to rekindle the fire, so that I'm not just trying to burn something that the flame has already gone out, or is it just not mine to complete anymore? Is there somebody else who wants this project? Can I pull all the wool apart and say no, I'm letting go of that? Again, there's a little bit of clearing that the Keenaz and rune is offering. I'm feeling this real sort of glittering, potent possibility and potential, almost like streaming out of the hands there, Suzanne, as I'm speaking. And so it's just looking at those two things, you know? Allowing the energy of Keenaz to flow through, and recognizing that Keenaz probably, you know, I want to say more than any of the other runes, but I'll put a caveat on that, because who knows, some of them might hold that as well. But that sense of the energy of things, the energy of things that have been forged and made, and that they hold intentions, they can hold emotions, they can hold meanings inside them. And so what we've been talking about in terms of our meanings and our energy, just as relevant for objects and things that we're making too. Chen, I've seen you with Ansu's. Lisa, you had a lovely Midsummer Circle on Saturday. Fabulous. And your lunar rune is Gibo, and you have Yera today. We've done Yera. No, Gibo doesn't want to have a chat today, and maybe it'll be coming in the future. I think maybe it was just that exchange energy. They're very, very complementary runes, the Yera rune and the Gibo rune. So perhaps what Gibo wants to say has is manifesting itself through your Yera rune today. So that is good and fine. Let me see what else we have got. Kerry. I hate it when I'm not sure how to pronounce somebody's name. I apologise if I'm pronouncing it wrong for you. So you have got Fayu, and we have talked about Fayu. When you were thinking about the Fayu rune, I just got this very, very vivid image of the Fenris wolf when he was a little puppy. No, and the stories talk about, you know, this just delightful, like furry puppy with his big eyes and his paddy paws. And he's there, and then he's gambolling around with Tyr, and he's a bit clumsy. You know, he's a little bit clumsy and not. He doesn't seem threatening, is what I would say. And I think maybe this is just this is perhaps just specific to you. Is there can be a time when people underestimate us, or they put us in a box and they say, you know, this is this person. Particularly people who have known us for a long time, who may have known us from childhood, so like family members, friends, will know you when you were in your paddy paw phase, you know, when you only big eyes and you're all cute and sweet like the Fenris wolf. And yes, you might have, you know, I was about to say peed on the floor. Not you, just to be really clear. I'm talking metaphorically now about the Fenris wolf, possibly about my cats as well. But it's not saying it's all plain sailing, but you were vulnerable and safe and great to non-threatening. And then as we grow, you know, we know the Fenris roof grew and grew and grew and grew and became so powerful that the gods became afraid of the Fenris wolf. And obviously in the story they bind the Fenris wolf, and we often talk about that as being like a good thing, that the gods agreed that this was a good thing. But there is another side of this, which is to say, okay, so Fenris, he wanted to devour the world, you know, so maybe not. But let's work on the assumption that you're not going to devour the world, but that you are standing in your power. And so it is worth feeling into with your Fayu rune. Where are there bindings on me that have been placed there by other people because they are afraid of me, and they are afraid of the power that I bring, or the difference that I bring? I am, you know, very aware for me that my, let's call it unconventionality, was not something that was palatable to everyone in my family. And that's something I have worked with. It's part of my power. Am I going to take the easy road? No, I'm not. Am I going to take the road that feels fulfilling and amazing and brilliant and might be a little bit risky and a little bit playful? Yes, I am. Standing in your power and not allowing yourself to be bound is what I'm feeling with the Feiyu rune there. And doing that work perhaps with the Feiyu rune is a way of energetically releasing any bindings that you feel on the body. You can possibly work with the Ansu's rune as well, but obviously you've got Feiyu too, but they're both very good for that. Feiyu is a more restorative, nurturing energy. So if that feels like a grief, I need to let go of this, and if that feels difficult and I'm mourning, why can't they just be like, hooray, I'm so glad you're standing in our power? Then the Feiyu rune is great. If it's like off with you, then Ansu's rune would be more powerful for that. So there we are, Middle Earth readings for this coming week. What have we got coming up in this week? So Sooner Star Wheel is still open. If at any point you're going, I don't have my Sooner Star Wheel membership, do I have to wait until the new moon? No, you don't. When you join, you will be prompted to where the guide for the month is in the archive, as well as you'll then be able to see, okay, this is where the solstice meditation is, this is where the guide, we've got a new lunar guide is in there as well. So Sooner Star Wheel is it's really, really great for opening to a more, let's say, like spirit led or spirit inspired or spirit supported life. So that's available to you at the moment. I've already started giddy with excitement that we have our Awaken circle opening tonight. And the mastery space is starting to come together. That's for people who have done Awaken and they are in my graduate program. So that is forming at the moment. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. Those are the intentions that I am feeling into through the course of this week. Many blessings to you all. I'm glad I pronounced it right. That's wonderful. And yes, have a wonderful, blessed week ahead. I will see you, I'll see some of you on Friday, which is our last Hearth Space Circle. So that's what I forgot. The last live Hearth Space Circle. We're going to be doing a symbol rite, so a little bit different to our normal Hygge sessions. I will be sending out an email for Inner Circle members about that. And again, the resource, the Hearth Space resource, with the Inner Circle resource, I should say, with all of the recordings of all of the sessions, that will remain open until the end of December 2023. So it's still there. So lovely to see all of you. See all of you again very, very soon. Suzanne's doing the crying. Making way for the new, Suzanne. Releasing the old. Making way for the new. That's where we are. Right, take care, everybody, and see you soon.